Welcome and thank you for waiting. All participants will remain in a listen-only mode for the duration of today's webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn this webinar over to your host from the U.S. Census Bureau, Linda. Linda, you may begin.
Thank you, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Exploring Census Data webinar series. Today, we will be presenting about available labor statistics from the economic and demographic program areas that can help with data-driven decisions. So let's go ahead and hop right into the presentation. First, a little about the Exploring Census Data webinar series. So this is a series of webinars presented monthly and organized by topic. We've found that many data users are interested in specific subjects, but may not always realize that we offer a wide range of data spanning from both demographic and economic areas. The webinars also include real-life use cases to help illustrate how the data can be applied in practical and meaningful ways. The webinar are presented by subject matter experts with a Q&A, and you'll be able to ask questions during the presentation. Each session is recorded and posted, so you'll have access to the information again, and also you'll be able to share with anyone that may be interested. To learn more about the series, please use the first link, and to view our past recordings, please use the second link to the Census Academy. Here's a quick look at what we'll be covering today. I'll begin with a brief overview of the U.S. Census Bureau to give some context. Then I'll turn it over to our presenters. Up first is Vicki Mack. Vicki is a survey statistician with the American Community Survey. Vicki will present the demographic aspect of employment statistics and show how to access the data. Then next is Erlene Dowell, who is a program analyst specializing in the longitudinal employer household dynamics program. Erlene will present business employment information and also do a live demo on how to access the data. Then we'll close out with a Q&A session. Now, while we've set aside time for questions at the end, please feel free to send in questions at any time during the session, and we'll do our best to address them as we go along. Now, please note that we are utilizing technology from multiple locations, and we aim to provide you with the best experience possible. Should we experience any technical delays during our session, please utilize the chat feature to let us know, and we will mitigate them as soon as possible. About the Census Bureau is the federal government's largest statistical agency where we conduct over 130 surveys each year. Listed here are some of our well-known surveys. First is the decennial census, the once-a-decade population housing count of the U.S. Next is the American Community Survey. This is the annual survey of the nation's population, and we'll hear more about this from Vicki in a few minutes. On the business data side of the house, we have the economic census. This is the official 5-year measure of American businesses that is conducted every year in the years ending in 2 and 7. It is the most comprehensive source for business data and is used for benchmarking our other business surveys and programs. The economic census also has a public sector counterpart called the Census of Governments. Like the economic census, it is measured every 5 years, ending in the years of 2 and 7. Now, this slide lists examples of a few of our widely used monthly, quarterly, and annual economic surveys and programs. Monthly surveys are a part of the economic indicators that are included in reporting the GDP. And annual surveys include nearly every sector of the economy. Now, when it comes to our data, a pyramid is a nice representation of the relationship between timeliness and details. At the top of the pyramid are high-frequency programs where data are released on a bi-weekly basis with less details available in comparison to the programs on the lower level in the pyramid. And sliding down a level to our monthly and quarterly surveys, these surveys are timely and include the nation's key economic indicators as mentioned on the previous slide. They are used for tracking and reporting the GDP. Now, moving down another step are the annual surveys. These are surveys that provide data for nearly every sector of the economy. Data from these programs are useful for analyzing trends. Then we have the economic census that takes place every 5 years. This is our most comprehensive data source for business data. And finally, at the base of the pyramid are administrative data that serves as the foundation for our statistics. And now I would like to turn the presentation over to our first presenter, Vicki. All yours, Vicki. Hi, everyone. Apologies, we are having a little bit of technical difficulties. Thank you for bearing with us. Hey, Vicki, would you like to check your headset real quick to see if,
Okay, sorry about that. I couldn't,
okay.
something was so minimized I couldn't even see the unmute button. But thank you, Linda, for being a backup person for me. Anyway, thank you everyone. Again, I'm Vicki Mack, and I work in the American Community Survey Office. And today I'll provide a brief overview of the American Community Survey, or ACS, and the employment industry and occupation data that's available from the ACS. I'll also discuss some of the tools available for accessing the ACS data. Now, the ACS is the premier source of detailed information about the nation's people and housing. Their survey samples about 3.5 million housing unit addresses each year. The Census Bureau also samples about 150,000 group quarter residents, and group quarters are places where people live or stay in a group living arrangement that is owned or managed by an entity or organization providing housing and or services to the residents. These include facilities like military barracks, nursing homes, jails, and college dorms. These data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates for communities throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. The estimates cover more than 40 topics. The ACS collects this detailed information each year that was previously collected by the decennial census each decade. ACS data help inform how trillions of dollars in federal funds are distributed each year and supports over 300 evidence-based federal government uses. ACS data are timely because they are released the following year in which they're collected. The ACS creates period estimates, which means they represent the characteristics of the population and housing over a specific data collection period. The ACS releases estimates for 1 year and 5-year periods. The ACS was fully implemented in 2005 after years of extensive testing. The first ACS one-year estimates were collected in 2005 and released in 2006. The first 5-year ACS estimates were collected between 2005 and 2009 and released in 2010. Now let's talk about who uses the ACS and why. As I mentioned earlier, information from the ACS generates data that help inform how trillions of dollars in federal funds are distributed each year. Other users of ACS data include local planners, policymakers, businesses, nonprofits, researchers, and more. Most people probably never think about how local planners use ACS data to know where to target new development or services, or where businesses get data they need to plan for expansion. Later, I'll share an example of how an organization uses ACS data to study the current and future workforce for their industry. The content collected by the ACS can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics: social, economic, demographic, and housing. Social characteristics include topics such as education, language spoken at home, and veteran status. Economic characteristics include such topics as community to work and place of work, employment status, industry, and occupation. The ACS also collects basic demographic characteristics such as sex, age, race, and Hispanic origin. Housing characteristics include housing costs and new topics that were added in 2025, which are electric vehicles, solar panels, and public sewer connectivity. Data for these new topics are planned to be released in 2026. The ACS topics are used to produce more than 1,000 tables for local communities each year. Covering a wide range of geographic areas, ACS data are most commonly needed at the state, county, place, census tract, and block group geographic levels. This slide shows or illustrates the relationship between these common geographic types and how they are nested within one another, as this example shows in El Paso, Texas. Census tracts are small statistical subdivisions within a county with populations of 1,200 to 8,000 people. Block groups are a group of blocks within a census tract with about 600 to 3,000 people, as you see blown out in the right corner of the screen. Again, the ACS has the ability to report on a wide range of geographies, as well as to provide data at very granular levels like census tracts and block groups. The ACS asks 5 questions which are used to provide ACS data on topics such as employment, unemployment, and labor force participation. The unemployed category includes all civilians 16 years and older who either were at work or with a job but not at work. The unemployed category includes all civilians 16 years of age and over who were not at work nor with a job during the reference week. It also includes civilians who were actively looking for work during the last 4 weeks and were available to start a job. The unemployed category also includes civilians who did not work at all during the reference week and were waiting to be called back to a job from which they had been laid off or were available for work except for temporary illness. So the labor force consists of people classified as employed or unemployed, plus members of the U.S. Armed Forces, that is, people on active duty. The labor force participation rate represents the proportion of the population that is in the labor force. You can learn more about why we ask these questions, see the questions, and examples of data produced from them on the Why We Ask webpage link for employment shown at the bottom of the screen. Those 5 ACS questions about employment status are shown in this image here. Questions 30 and 36 through 38 are mainly used to determine employment status during the reference week. That is, whether the person is employed, unemployed, etc. Meanwhile, question 39 corresponds with work status in the past 12 months. It's important to know the differences between reference week and work in the past 12 months because each one utilizes a different reference period and will correspond to different kinds of estimates in our tables. However, I should mention one caveat. We also use work status in the past 12 months in conjunction with other questions to help identify people and select employment status categories. For example, not in the labor force. This is especially important in the absence of other information. The ACS asks a 6-part question about a person's occupation, industry, and employer. The types of data produced from these questions include class of worker, industry, and occupation. Class of worker categorizes workers according to the type of ownership of the employing organization. This variable identifies whether the respondent is self-employed, works in the private sector, or in government. Industry describes the kind of business conducted by a person's employing organization. Occupation data describes the kind of work the person does on the job. You can learn more about why we ask these questions and see the questions and examples of the data produced from them on the Why We Ask webpage link for occupation shown at the bottom of the screen. Now, the 6-part question is shown on the screen here. The main question is, which one of the following best describes this person's employment last week or the most recent employment in the past 5 years? Then the respondent can choose from different types of private sector, government, and self-employed options. The ACS also asks 2 questions that are used to create estimates related to work experience. Questions 40A and 40B ask questions about weeks worked in the past 12 months. Question 41 asks about usual hours worked per week in the past 12 months. These questions help us identify whether workers are usually full-time or part-time based on the number of hours they work each week and whether they worked year-round. Data users can get additional detail on employment, industry, and occupation data by looking at these topics by other characteristics such as race and ethnicity, sex, earnings, education attainment, and place for the foreign-born population. This 2024 December visualization example shown here shows employment status and types of occupations for the foreign-born population. And here's another example. This example shows how an association uses ACS data for workforce analyses. The interactive dashboard shown here was created by the American Psychological Association, or APA's Center for Workforce Studies, and it's available on the APA website. They use ACS data to analyze the psychology workforce and education pipeline. ACS data allowed APA to take a deep dive into the demographic composition of the psychology workforce, how it has changed over the years, and whether it is adequate to address population health needs. APA examined topics such as race, Hispanic or Latino origin, age, occupation, and employment. Now, catering to a variety of data users with unique needs, the Census Bureau offers a variety of data access tools. I'll discuss these two shown here more in depth in a moment. They are QuickFacts and data.census.gov. QuickFacts is a quick, easy way to access the most current facts about people, business, and geography. QuickFacts provides statistics for all states, counties, cities, and towns with a population of 5,000 or more. It's great for making quick comparisons between different geographies. And you can also compare data for up to 5 geographies at once. Some topics you can compare are population, age and sex, housing, health, economy, transportation, business, and others. Some of the ACS economic data included in QuickFacts are median household income, civilian labor force, and per capita income. You can watch a 3.5-minute tutorial video at the link shown at the bottom of the screen. Data.census.gov is the Census Bureau's main data dissemination platform and is the primary way to access data from the ACS. Data.census.gov allows users to filter searches through topics or geographies, download data files, and create customized maps. It includes ACS data from 2010 to present. There are a variety of how-to materials, video tutorials, webinars, and FAQs to help you use data.census.gov. To learn more, please visit the links at the bottom of the screen. In a few minutes, I'll provide a demonstration of how to access industry and occupation data from data.census.gov. Imagine that you are thinking of opening a medical clinic in Franklin County, Kentucky. You want to get an idea of what you might have to pay your staff in the clinic you plan to open. You want to examine the median income for people in healthcare occupations in Franklin County. And so you decide to look at the most current ACS 5-year estimates. The first step is to go to data.census.gov and select Advanced Search. So let me take you to that page to show you how. So on data.census.gov, the first step is to select Advanced Search. Let me make this a little bigger. Let's see if I can make it a little bigger. Click on Advanced Search. And on the left-hand side of the screen, select our geography. And we want Franklin County, so we select County. And we want Franklin County, Kentucky, so we select the state of Kentucky. And then I'm going to scroll down to Franklin County. And since I'm interested in median earnings for healthcare occupations, I'm going to scroll down to another section on the left-hand side of the screen and scroll down to the section of topics. and I'm interested in income. So I'm going to select income and poverty. I'm going to select income and earnings, and then income and earnings again. At this point, I'm interested in healthcare occupations as well. So I'm going to scroll down under the topic section again, and I'm going to select employment. And then I want to select occupation. Now I can either click on tables here or click on search. And I know that median earnings is in table by occupation. Median earnings, occupation by median earnings is in table B24011. I'm going to click on this table. And I can click on these two arrows to expand the table. To see the median earnings for the healthcare occupations, I will scroll down a little further on the table, and I can see the most current data is showing that the median earnings for healthcare practitioners and technical occupations is $76,408. I may want to also hire a manager for my clinic to have you take over the day-to-day operations. So I might be interested in management occupations and what their median earnings are. And I can see maybe 60,000 or 51,932. Now I might be concerned about what the other counties may be paying or what the median earnings for healthcare occupations in other counties. So I may want to get a visual of the median earnings in other counties. So I can do a map, use the map feature. Data.census.gov has a very handy mapping tool. And the easiest way to do that is to click on geos. Scroll down because I want to select all the counties in Franklin County. I'm going to click on geos. I'm going to select county. I'm going to go back down to Kentucky, select Kentucky and all counties within Kentucky. This way I can map the data in this table so I can get a quick visual view of that particular data. So I'm going to click on this arrow, go back to maps. May take a few seconds to render and then zoom in. And the map gives you some default data, general occupation by median earnings. I want to click on this arrow to change my data point to healthcare occupations. Scroll down to select that data or to select that topic. And you can move the map over a little bit and then zoom in. And there's Franklin County. And the legend here indicates that the darker the area, the higher the median earnings. And this just gives you a quick visual, and you might want to take a look at this to see if you might have problems recruiting people in other counties due to their higher median earnings for those healthcare occupations. There's Franklin County, and I might look at Bourbon County, for example. Let's see if I can get back to my PowerPoint without losing you guys. No, good. Okay. Okay. So you might be wondering how I knew what table would include median income by occupation estimates. I knew from the table list. Each year, the Census Bureau releases a table list and a table shell. Both files can be downloaded from the technical documentation page. The table list allows you to search through a spreadsheet to find a table based on your interests. For example, if you're looking for a table on occupation, you can search through the spreadsheet's table title column or filter that column for tables that include occupation in the title. The ACS table list contains columns with the table IDs, table titles, table universes, and 1 year and 5 year availability for all tables in one spreadsheet. Table shells display what is inside each table. They provide the layout of tables without the estimates or margins of error filled in. They contain the line number, description of the data, and table ID. Table shells are available 1 week before the data are released, allowing users to preview new layouts in advance. You can find these resources at the link shown here. Before I hand the webinar over to Erlene, I want to share information on how you can get answers and get ACS support. You can visit our website, which contains a wealth of information about the survey, data products, and tools for data users, and other helpful information. If you still have data user questions, you can reach us by phone or email at the phone number or email address shown on the screen. Census Academy is our learning hub for data skills. You can learn how to access and use Census Bureau data your way through our how-to data gems, in-depth courses, webinars, and tutorials. This page also has a link where you can request a training at no cost from our data dissemination specialists or DDSs. They can also provide assistance with our Census Bureau data, with other Census Bureau data. And one last thing, if you're using ACS estimates, make sure to source the Census Bureau American Community Survey as to where you received the data. It helps to know that the information you're using was powered by the ACS. Thank you for your attention, and I appreciate your patience with the technical glitches. It's all yours, Erlene.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Vicki. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. As Linda mentioned earlier, my name is Erlene Dowell, and I will be sharing with you how the longitudinal employer household dynamics, or LEHD, data products are being utilized to make informed decisions. First, I'll share with you where the data comes from. LEHD data products are different from other census data in the fact that our data comes from our Local Employment Dynamics, or LED partnership, which is a voluntary federal-state partnership. Under the partnership, states send administrative data, which include their unemployment insurance, or UI, wage records, and their quarterly census of employment and wages, or QCEW data, which is then combined with censuses and surveys to create this dynamic information on workers to produce public use data products as well as microdata for research. The UI records give us jobs data. The QCEW gives us job firm data, and our person data comes from censuses and surveys. The map to the right shows our active state partners in blue. Currently, LEHD has 3 main data sets and 2 experimental data sets. Each data set has an application for easy access. Each data set, along with each data tool, is unique in its own way. If you are curious about employment hires, separations, turnovers, and earnings, you would look at the quarterly workforce indicators, or QWI, utilizing the QWI Explorer, the LED extraction tool, or Census API. This winter, we will be releasing 5 and 6 digit NAICS codes in the raw data. If you want to look at employment for detailed and customized geography, you would look at the loads data using the On the Map or On the Map for Emergency Management data tools, and just released yesterday in the LED extraction tool. If you want to look at statistics on job mobility across state boundaries or industries, transitions between jobs by timing and firm or worker characteristics, or earning changes due to job changes, you would use our job-to-job or J2J flows data using the J2J Explorer and now in our LED extraction tool. We also have data for 3-digit NAICS in the raw data. One of our newer data sets is the Post-Secondary Employment Outcomes, or PSEO. This experimental data set reports earnings by institution, degree field, degree level, and graduation cohort for 1, 5, and 10 years after graduation, and is accessible through the PSEO Explorer and Census API. The current release now includes data on 928 institutions, which covers more than 33% of all college graduates in the U.S. in 2015. PSEO is a data product generated by linking graduate transcript records to LEHD data on graduates of participating post-secondary institutions in the U.S. New data was released yesterday. Finally, we have another experimental data set called the Veteran Employment Outcomes, or VEO. Launched in 2020, VEO initially covered labor market outcomes for U.S. Army veterans. The update expands VEO coverage to also include data on Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard veterans discharged between 2002 and 2021. These data show earnings and employment outcomes of more than 2.8 million formerly enlisted service members. Coverage includes labor market outcomes 1, 5, and 10 years after discharge by military occupation, rank, demographics, industry, and geography of employment. Among the findings, veterans with more specialized military training and work experience had higher civilian earnings and employment rates than infantry and combat veterans. In addition to the data tools, raw data downloads are available along with LEHD microdata for approved projects through our secure census research data centers. Let's start with the QWI Explorer. QWI has 32 indicators. Through maps, charts, and interactive table, users can compare, rank, and aggregate QWIs across time, geography, and our firm and worker characteristics. The application's intuitive dashboard allows for the construction of pivot tables to compare and rank labor force indicators such as employment, job creation, and destruction, wages, and hires across a wide range of firm and worker characteristics. You can download, export, and upload links to company websites or social media. We have data all the way down to the 3 to 4-digit NAICS code available through the data tool. And the timeliness of the data is like no other at Census. For most states, we have data as current as 2024 Q2. In comparison to the ACS data story and how APA used 2000 to 2019 ACS one-year PUMS files to show the workforce consisted of 83% of white and 17% minority psychologists in 2019, by using QWI and looking at the national numbers, we can see how employment goes up for all races in healthcare. Unfortunately, in LEHD, we cannot look at occupation, we can only see industry. And when looking at national numbers, we can only look at 2-digit NAICS. In this screenshot, we can plainly and quickly see that white alone, beginning in 2000, began just a little below 10 million workers, and then by 2019 went up to 14 million, while the minority numbers were under 2 million in 2000 and stayed below 4 million workers in 2019. We can look closer by looking at a particular state and looking at the 4-digit NAICS code. In this screenshot, we are looking at earnings in California for 2000 to 2019 for NAICS code 6222, psychiatric and substance abuse hospitals, and 6223, specialty hospitals by race. In 2000, we can see that most races earn 2,000 plus a month, except for the American Indian or Alaska Native alone, which was slightly under 2,000. It's also interesting to see that Asian alone earned the most out of all races, except for from quarters 2009 quarter 3 through 2010 quarter 1. Let's go live to see how easy it is to recreate these examples. So the easiest way to get to the LEHD website is if you type in lehd.ces.census.gov. And once you're there, all of our data tools are to the left on the left-hand side. We also have them under the tab where it says applications. And if you click on applications, you can see all of our different data tools throughout, and it gives you a brief description of all of the data tools. So I will go ahead and click on QWI Explorer. I'm going to change the geography level to United States. I'm going to keep the indicator to EMP, which is beginning of quarter employment count. We're going to change the industry from none to health care. So I'll scroll down to 62. I'll click on that. I'll click on OK. We'll quickly change the x-axis. And we're going to click on the 20 quarters. So you can see that we have data till the 2024, but I'm going to unclick that very quickly. And I'm going to keep the unclick 2020. And all the way down to 2000. And then I'll click on OK. Once I do that, I'll change my group to race. And you can see all of the different worker characteristics you can change to. And then automatically here on the graph, you can see that this is white alone and how it goes from 10 million in 2000 all the way up to 14 million, while the other minorities range from 2 million and slightly goes up. But then you can also look at the numbers here, and you can see in 2000 quarter 1 what the numbers are, and then you can scroll down and see what the numbers are now. So you can see 14,000, and then Black or African American alone is 3 million, and so on. Then we can change the numbers really quickly again. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do, sorry. We're going to change the geography to California. We're going to change the indicator to earn S. We're going to change the industry from NAICS sectors 2 to 4. And then I'm just going to type in 622 and then click on 622 psychiatric substance and specialty. And then you can see a little bit of the volatility, but you can see the top ranking race is Asian alone, while the lower ranking would be American Indian or Alaskan Native alone. Okay, moving right along. Here are some examples. These are 2 articles on our LED in Action tab on our website. And in the article on the left, the issue is how in the Washington region, there are 2 commuter rail systems that siphon riders from Maryland riding the MARC and the VRE from Virginia. Both terminate at the Union Station and don't continue into the other state. It would be nice if they both extended rather than riders having to transfer to another train. So transportation used the on the map to decipher what types of how many employers were working in that area. And in the second article, it was about Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio. And he said that he would give a budget proposal, would allocate $100 million to colleges and universities based on graduates' employment success. And DeWine's plan would look at the PSEO data set, looking at 1, 5, and 10-year outcomes. So we'll go over both of those examples using the LEHD on the map and post-secondary employment outcomes for PSEO Explorer. So a quick description of On the Map. On the Map is a web-based mapping and reporting application that shows where workers work and where they live. It provides companion reports on age, earnings, industry, distribution, race, ethnicity, educational attainment, and sex. We have data from 2000 to 2022 for most of the 50 states, including DC. You can customize the selection area as low as a census block with disclosure protection, and input-output reports are available, which means you can import and export shapefiles and download and print reports and maps. Here, I downloaded the shapefile from the MARC and VRE, and then I drew a line from Maryland to Virginia, and I put a 0.5 mile buffer, and then I did a work area profile analysis. We can see that there are about 215,420 workers that work within a half a mile from MARC and the VRE. So I really wanted to go live to see that. So let's see if I can do it very quickly. I'm just going to click on the map, and luckily I already have the shapefile loaded, so I'm just going to reuse the shapefile to show you how fast it can we can work on this. I'm going to click on this perform analysis, and then an analysis setting comes up, and you can look at where the worker lives or where the worker works. We're going to do an area profile, which is an overview of where the worker works. And then you can look at 2022 all the way down to 2002. And then we're just going to look at the primary jobs. Primary jobs is the job that brings home the most income, and it also includes federal jobs, not including military jobs and other jobs. So we'll click on go. And you can see automatically how many jobs are included. This number doesn't match exactly the screenshot just because my lines are probably different from when I first did the screenshot, but we can see the total primary jobs, what the ages are, the earnings are, the industries are in those areas, the race, the ethnicity, the educational attainment, and the worker sex. All right, and then finishing off with the post-secondary employment. As per the article, Governor DeWine of the Ohio proposed that he would allocate $100 million to the colleges and universities based on the graduates' employment. In this screenshot, we are looking at the state of Ohio, looking at all the partner institutions and earnings of those with bachelor's degrees in the 50 percentile 1, 5, and 10 years after graduation of all instructional programs in engineering and science technologies technician, since manufacturing is the leading industry in Ohio. And then here in this screenshot, we can see those engineering graduates, what industries do they go into, and what are the areas they end up in, more importantly, that they stay in Ohio. So again, we'll go quickly to the PSEO. And I'll just show you very quickly how it works. And I'll change this to Ohio. I'll type in Ohio. And then you can see here, we're looking at business and social science. I'm just going to click on a couple things so we can see the flows. And then we can look at the geography. All right, so here are a couple summary and resources that we went over today, some training videos if you need to look at those. And then I do want to invite you to our partnership hybrid workshop. That's going to be held on September 3rd through the 4th. And then we also have a webinar series every month that I'd like to invite you to. So now I'll hand it back to Linda.
Thank you, Arlene. Before we begin the Q&A section of today's webinar, I want to call your attention to our recently released product statistics tables from the 2022 economic census. The product statistics are two new data tables that were released on May 29th. One table presents data on products by industry, and the other table on industries by product. The products by industry table shows which product are produced or sold by which industries at the 6-digit NAICS level, because the same product or service can be sold across different industries or even in different sectors. It also shows the number of establishments in each industry offering each product, the revenue attributed to each product, and how much each industry contributes to the product's total revenue. The industry by product table flips the view and shows which industries are associated with each product, because an industry can have a variety of products and services that contribute to an overall revenue. The product statistics are definitely interesting to see, so when you have a moment, I highly suggest visiting data.census.gov to check out the new tables. Thank you. So thank you everyone for your interest and time in attending today's webinar. Thank you, Vicki and Arlene, for presenting our audience with helpful information and resources about census employment data and how it can be helpful for decision making. Today, we featured a small fraction of census data and data tools. To learn more about other statistics and tools, please come join us again on August 14th at 2 p.m. for a presentation on finance statistics data for businesses and policymakers, where our experts will be diving into finance data from the Consumer Expenditure Survey and the state finance and tax statistics area. Also, please note the contact information on this slide. For anyone that may be interested in a hands-on in-person training, we have data dissemination specialists that are available to provide this service. If you have questions or need more information, please feel free to email us at census.askdata@census.gov. To ask your question now, please submit your question in the Q&A feature, and we will read the question aloud. Let's check the queue and see if there are questions in there that we need to read. There is a question for you, Arlene. Can you distribute the slides given it has contact information and future hybrid training in September?
Yes. Yes, we definitely will be distributing the questions and definitely about the workshop.
Thank you, Arlene.
And if you'd like, you can send me an email and then I'll send you the information as well.
Wonderful. Give it a second here and see if there are any more questions. All right. I do not see any additional questions, and I would like to express our thanks to everyone again for attending today's webinar. And I'm going to hand it back over to our facilitator, Anthony. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for participating. The session is now over. You may disconnect at this time. Have a good afternoon, everyone.